What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Childish. We are back at it again with the next episode of Educate and Dominate, that one-on-one interview series where we take some of the top names of the game and get their insights so we can take your game to the next level. My next guest is one of the few out there that took the time to create some of the greatest insight on some of those monsters up and coming. When we were all getting it together back in 2014, we got ourselves Jakeem. How we doing, my man?
We're doing pretty good, man. How about yourself?
Doing good, doing good. And for those that don't know Jakeem, way back in the day, if you're one of those old school cats, he was rocking it as Black Ice 99, way back when. So I'll let Jakeem kind of get into that in a little bit. But before we get into that, Jakeem, why don't you go ahead and fill people in on how you got into the video games and worked your way on into some of this warfare.
All right. Well, I started getting into video games shortly after I had got out the military in 2011. Where I started off playing like a lot of Modern Warfare, NBA 2K Live, and so on and so Madden. And then it just went from there. and went on to start playing League. And then when I had nothing to do, when I was like, man, I'm at the grocery store. I need to find something else to do. So I started finding little random games, mobile games that just carried from there to finally making it to Summoner's War when it finally get released.
Yeah. And when you came on to Summoners War, we had a lot of people, coming in there trying new units and whatnot, but didn't really have too much insight. I believe it was the person by the name of City of 22 that provided a little bit of insight on the official forums for those that don't or do remember. But as you have stated and somebody else have stated out there that would agree, Cydia had some good insight, but it seemed like it was more kind of geared towards early to mid game. So that's where you and Bomber, Scatfetus, and some of the others kind of came up with the list of monsters. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, when the when Cydia had the guide, it was starting. I was one of the times that where I was really big into actually using Reddit. Um, Cydia's guide was pretty base knowledge. Like a lot of people was like some people's bad plays they was fusing Chloe's into Rena's because of it. But it wasn't because Rena was bad at the time. Rena before the I think when the guide was made, Rena at that time was broken because of how her passive was stacking and not how it is currently where it resets. But people kept complaining about it being out of date, and then I go in there and say the guide's not out of date. The guide is made for mid game, and it just kind of gave me a little headache. So I decided to do something about it. Where I went to go look for people who can actually be useful to helping me achieve what I was looking for, which was Bomber at the time, because he was the only at that time. I think it was him and one other guy who barely came on. He came on like one or two times before, and then that was it. So I asked Bomber. Just so happened that Bomber had Zeros at the time. At that time, I always thought two different styles of play was if you got Zeros, you had a completely different way of thinking than a guy who doesn't.
Yeah, it's cool. It is very cool, guys. So, again, the reason why we got him on board as well as Bomber initially for that first one, these guys, they were end game players, had the opportunity to do a lot of theory craft and test a lot of units, and gave people the opportunity to learn, from their testing and whatnot. So they compiled a monster list and provided it on the, I think it was on both. Was it official forums and Reddit forums, or I just knew about it on the official forums.
Well, we posted a. Well, the city guy was on the Reddit forum. She posted it there. He or she posted it there. I'm still trying to figure out who it was. I'm not even gonna lie about that. I'm still
Yeah,
trying to figure that one out.
I
But
mean the one that Bomber posted for you guys, that was
we posted it both on both
okay.
ends. We started off putting it on Reddit so people can ask to add and so we can do touch ups until we got it. So I guess it would be a little easier on the eyes for some people would say.
Right, right, right. Yeah, so it's definitely a nice list. Now I know that Bomber has created his a gathering of people on his Twitch channel that has provided basically a way of checking rune recommendations for certain monsters and whatnot. Jakeem, you also have a Twitch channel. Do you have your setup similar to that, or is it just rocking through Bomber's setup right now?
I've actually never set mine up through bombers at all.
Okay.
I just kind of just I stream when I have time. Pretty much, I do never really bothered to do all the extra stuff with it.
Gotcha. And that's all good, my man. Let me see here. So I got a couple questions for you. What we're going to talk about, guys, leading up here. We're going to talk about hybrid units. We're going to talk about the new meta. But before we get into that, I kind of wanted to just address some of the questions that I kind of get constantly asked. So I figured we take this opportunity to just get it out there in the booth since Jakiem is very knowledgeable. The theory behind glancing hit versus crushing hit. While some people understand that it can go either way with certain units, and one will lean towards the other depending on the elemental advantage and or disadvantage. There's something unique about the glancing hit versus crushing hit that I wanted to see if you can kind of get into when it comes to landing harmful effects versus cool sets or whatnot. So can you talk a little bit about that, enlighten us for us?
Well, crushing hit is pretty much all it is elemental advantage. It's not really. It's just a better way of saying it, that you're getting more damage output. And then the glancing hit, of course, is like it sounds. You're hitting for like a wet noodle on it, pretty much.
Gotcha. And when it comes to one of the unique things that you, I believe, I don't know what you originally, but you had stated that with regards to glancing hit and cooldown effects, I guess you can.
Oh, the debuff? Yeah, it's the debuffs. The Not all debuffs land. The only one that's been continuously that can actually, consider debuff is probably the cooldown reduction. Zeros has it. The light and water sylphid, and those monsters, because it's not, for some reason, even if it glances, it can still put you on cooldown. Now, because it's not a debuff, but for some odd reason, I think it should be considered one. Now, any other buff like Bella's scratch and all this other stuff, the armor break and all this stuff, then those if it glances is not going to land.
Gotcha. And one thing I did want to point out, I know that we'll be talking about the meta and some of the units that are really shining in there. Two of which are the Brownie Magicians, namely the Water and Fire one. I wanted to kind of point out something unique to the Brownie Magicians when it comes to the second skill. Being able to land the attack as a crushing hit, talking about the glancing hit versus crushing hit. It seems that even though,
It's pretty much making it state that you really don't need a lot of accuracy due to that skill,
okay,
because it's never going to glance. It's pretty much always going to do what it's supposed to do.
right. And so if it crushes, we got a good chance of it landing that defense break.
Yeah,
Cool.
kind of like Theo and how he almost always lands.
Right. Yeah,
That
definitely has a high
yeah,
chance. He is a beast. He is a beast.
he's not just really a pain.
Well,
It's a
yes,
real pain.
he's a pain, but he's a beast too. If you got him, he's a beast. If you're going against him, he's a pain. It's all good. But let me see here. So we got a couple of units out there that are pretty unique in the 4-star and 5-star category. Some are rare, some are kind of uncommon or whatnot. And I kind of wanted to get into those to go ahead and talk to people with regards to hybrids. So we hear a lot about it, but we don't really see people. We see them utilizing it a little bit, but not really everybody understands. What constitutes kind of a hybrid. So can you kind of talk about the hybrid concept in general, and then we'll get into some of these units that are relatively rare to people that they can utilize with a hybrid.
Hybrids are pretty much like off tank styles where you'll like attack crit damage HP or speed attack HP. It's just utilizing both stats instead of just one. And some of the ones that can kind of take use into that is because I've had the honor to using the Dark Kung Fu Girl after they did continuous amounts of buffs to it, and then I was actually surprised that their damage was that high.
Gotcha.
That even built in an off tank status, she would still break 20K on armor break,
Gotcha. And so for those that
and that's
haven't,
without the armor ignore skill.
right. So if those haven't been following like all the changes over the last, oh man, at least what 6 to 8 months,
Oh,
right?
this monster, this monster has gone probably this one and the wind. The wind, what is that thing called? Not the Reaper, the that stupid wind. Not the Phantom Thief. What's that stupid looking ugly thing called with a shield?
Oh, the shield, you got me.
Yeah, it's the one that has a passive shield. The lynches, there you go.
Liches, yeah, lich, yeah.
Yeah, those things got so many buffs that their damage is surprisingly higher than it should be.
Yeah. I definitely feel the liches are a little underrated as
They,
well.
they're, I'm right there with you. They're still, I still say they still suck, but they can at least do some damage now.
Right, right, right. And so, with regards to the dark kung fu girl, whatnot, typically speaking, if you were to, advise somebody, hey, they can go hybrid, but I'm not really sure how to go about it. What would you recommend to the viewer out there that's looking to kind of do something here? What would you recommend for?
Well, one of the reasons why I built it hybrid is because it's a dark unit, and there's just so many Darians and Bellas in arena defense that you're kind of forced to almost not use a dark unit at all.
Gotcha.
But so I built it with an off tank status with revenge, which everybody should already pretty much auto put on any Kung Fu girl if they decide to make one.
Cool. And do you feel that the dark one's the only one that can get away with the hybrid? Is there any other element within the realm of
Uh,
kung fu girls that can do it?
I think actually all of them might be able to because they have pretty much the exact same skill set, just with a different text of what kind of abilities does it do. Like the fire one does the dots, and the wind one dispels.
Cool.
So I'm pretty sure the damage modifiers are the exact same across the board.
Gotcha. Let me see here. What we got next? So the next one up, we got ourselves the Dragon Knights. I'm super excited about what you guys say about this one because I just got Leica about 2 weeks ago or
And
so.
you got easy AO status. That's what that is.
Yeah, easy AO status. There it is. So, the thing of it is that these, especially for Leica, he's such an attack-based monster. It seems like, even without an attack buff, or utilize an attack buff on a unit that's not defense broken, or hitting the defense broken unit
Um,
without attack buff, he's still going to do an absurd amount of damage. So,
Like it's just that monster, man.
right. So, why would you consider, Leica in addition to the other Dragon Knights, a
Out of
viable?
all the other Dragon Knights, I think like it's probably the only one that I would definitely go full on damage
Okay.
due to due to how absurd his damage is. It's ridiculously high. Like people keep saying Theo's better because of Theo has an armor break. Well, Leica is gonna break 40 plus K. Theo's not gonna do that.
Right. Right. Exactly. When it comes to chows, we got people that are recommending, a very, very tankiest chow, and you got some people that are going YOLO. And so with the hybrid kind of setup with this, what kind of damage could you, kind of consider when going about this route? I mean, seeing that this unit has a passive base on its HP, what do you feel that a person should focus on when they're kind of considering chow?
Uh, for a child, it's based should be like speed, HP, and attack and crit damage. Its armor is pretty relatively decent. If you can get a little bit of that in there, it'd be pretty good. Some if you want to go for resistance, you can. You don't need accuracy. I don't at at all. If the way I look at it is, if it gets a dot, it gets a dot. If not, oh well.
Gotcha. And with the Win one, do you kind of feel the same way when it comes to the hybrid format, or would you go a different route considering
Ooh,
his style and whatnot? This is kind of one of those
well,
meta
because
breakers.
he is pretty much a meta breaker at the current meta. He's possibly one of the better units to have if you have one, because you cannot outspeed this guy no matter what you do. You probably would want to go. Only reason you would want to go HP is because there's a surprisingly a high amount of defense units that are fire.
Right.
Vanessa being one of them, so that you have to deal with armor breaks. He's got to deal with a lot of stuff.
Guys, so chances
But
are bringing him into the mix, he's going to be a win tank more often than not. So going a little bit more tankier route would benefit you
I
there.
would still go off tank with him because you don't need speed at all, so you can pretty much play around with just attack, crit damage, and HP pretty much across the board. You would might want to put some accuracy on him if possible to utilize his passive even higher. Because if he resets the primary monster, that's gonna interrupt whatever you're planning on doing, and he sets it back that one turn. That's pretty much it for your comp, and you lose.
Gotcha, gotcha. Cool. Let's see. Next up, we got. Let's see what we got here. We got the Zyros. Again, guys, we're picking out some of the natural 5 stars, natural 4 stars that some of you guys have been fortunate enough to get, but not really sure how to go about it. So one of the things is when we think about Zyros, we think about this hard-hitting unit that just does an absurd amount of damage, but every once in a while you'll find him in the arena defense, and he doesn't always appear to be as squishy as the others. So can you talk a little bit about the hybrid format and what you would go about doing when it comes to this particular unit, depending on your situation?
See, I'm not just going to use Baron for example. For a good while, he was actually using a tank Zeros, a speedy tank Zeros, where all it would do is continuously try to spam out Flame Breath and the second skill, the land dots, continuously on you and just kill you by doing that. It was a pretty effective strategy for a good while, and then shortly after, everybody started catching up to how to beat the composition and stuff. But it's you just you would want to put HP on Zeros due to if anything looks at it and you don't kill it, like Camilla for example. If you don't have some type of HP on him and you try to attack Camilla, Camilla's probably gonna one shot kill it and be done with him.
Right.
If and that's probably the only water unit that you would actually fear. And I think Trolling Nami even said at one point in time that he does not attack Camilla's when he was running Tyron, Beretta, double Zeros.
Gotcha. And speaking of Camilla, I hope you don't mind throwing that in the mix. Camilla has had a recent change here. I think it was like a couple of months ago with regards to her passive and how it's been utilized and whatnot. So, do you consider this one still a viable candidate for a hybrid, or is this just YOLO all the way, no matter what?
Um, it's the Camilla's just one of these monsters, but due to how her passive works, that she has pretty much 50% effective health. Due to majority of everybody's gonna crit you almost no matter what at a certain point in the
Right.
game. Once you get to like fighter, probably fighter three to be promised, most of those units are gonna start critting, and it's just nothing you can do about it. Camilla's just gonna sit there and tank it.
Gotcha. And with the people coming up in the ranks that were fortunate enough to get this early on, they're gonna be looking at top end players and seeing that they're rocking, attack, crit damage attack, or speed, crit damage attack, or whatever the case may be. What do you recommend for that beginning person that's coming on board? Do they focus on trying to get a little
Well,
bit of speed in this one?
I was actually one of those fortunate people. That was actually my first Net 5. I got her when I was like level 27, I believe.
Nice, nice.
So I was rocking her with fatal energy at that point in time because you still have to utilize her passive, and you still want her to dish out the damage. But Camilla's not one of those units that's going to ever break 40k, so it's not like a must have you straight up pure damage out of her. It's honestly best to build her speedies with some HP on her, maybe a little bit of armor, but still want to go with an attack crit damage attack. I think it's FZA, not FZA. What's it's one of the players who uses it with a speed on slot two, and there was another person who built it kind of really tanky and it's ridiculously fast. I don't know why she did that or he did that, but
Yeah. It's quite. It's always cool looking. If you guys don't take the time to do it, I definitely would do it every now and again. When you're out of energy and whatnot, taking the time to look at some of the consistent Guardian 3 players that are always up there. Some of these people have really really unique.
honestly, the best time to look at the top listing is on Sunday nights after reset hour. I know it's kind of late for most people, and they can't actually do that because I know myself. Um, Maverick does it time to time. Just a few people. It just takes note that as soon as reset hour comes, and that 1 minute comes, we already put our defense back to like a one monster and drop it rank right back down to Conqueror because pretty much trying to hide our defense so everybody and our monster stats so that people won't try to take advantage of your defense while during out the week. But you got people like Scatfetus, Barian, Bomber. They like to sit up there and you know have fun. I guess it's quite annoying. I'd rather just hit auto because half the time I'm at work anyways.
Right. Yeah. Let me see here. So one of the next groups of units that we got is the Monkey Kings, particularly the Wind and Fire. Definitely units that can be utilized at a hybrid setting. So I know that if I remember, I don't know if Scott Fetus is still running it. He was a big fan of going HP, crit damage HP, and just allowing his passive to kind of build up. Do you feel that that is the best way to go, or do you feel that there's a couple of ways to go about it depending on what you're trying to do with the unit?
Well, the Fire Monkey, you still, because his base speed is already pretty high, you still would want to get his at speed. Pretty much any tankier bruiser monster, like a monkey, Camilla's, um, if you want to build Perna that way, Perna, in between the 140 range to 170 speed range is normally what you would want to get. But not everybody can get lucky enough to get those substats, right?
Right.
But so for him, I fear that the HP crit damage attack is probably the better one, where you got his HP around 25,000, 30K. Somewhere between there is where you want to be at, because if you don't want to be one shot as soon as the armor break lands.
Right.
But
Exactly.
you don't want to take too long to let him build up too.
Gotcha. And could the even though I agree with you on the taking too long to let it build up, couldn't it depend on your actual composition of your arena defense? If they're self-sustaining, like really self-sustaining, um, could you think would it be wise to kind of go a little bit more HP on that one, or
Well,
would you still
maybe
think?
if you're in that lower bracket, Fighter 3, Conquer 1, Conquer 2 area, then you might get away with it, because you're not going to the chances of you getting one shot like that is really unlikely. But in our in high end arena, it's like everybody's going to one shot you. So if it doesn't have enough support to support itself, it's going to die.
Gotcha. True, true. All right, and then moving on, the Wind Monkey King, definitely a very unique unit. One of the ones that I've always wanted, but haven't been fortunate enough to get.
Oh man, I want one just so I can stop people who hit me with Theos.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. It's the Theo Shaker, that's for sure.
You'll change your mind. You look at that wind monkey and you have a Theo.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm down. Like if I yeah,
So
Theo's.
you'll change your mind real quick about using Theo against it.
I still remember every single Guild Wars that I go into where we leave like a top one or top two player with a Wind Monkey King. I'm like, I take a look at how many like swords we got left and how percentage we're close, and if we already won, then I'll go at it, whatever. But chances are, I honestly try to avoid it because both of my top hitters are water units, Theo and Chandra respectively.
Yeah. The wind monkey, due to how his passive works, is you can kind of get away with not with going more YOLO-ish, but you still would want a decent amount of HP, because even with the passive 20K, 18, 15, 18K is you're still gonna get one shot.
Gotcha.
Is you it's still like want to be around 25. I've always felt that 25 is a good number when it comes to trying to be a tank. Where's an off tank status? If you can get more, then that's better. But you don't want to give up too much of another stat for it.
Right. Cool. Sweet. And so next one up, we're going to be moving on to the four-star units. Some of the units that are going to be a little bit more common. As far as this one has to be one of the four-star units that, um, when it comes to a unit that just provides so much for all aspects of the game, I gotta hand it to this one, Verdehile here. So what's your take on Verdehile, hybrid format, and then your rune recommendation?
Well, I think most people already know that, because Bomber threw it out there, that the double revenge nemesis build, I was the one who kind of came up with it. And then there was a lot of people kind of after that, Bomber just kind of ran away with it, and then he finally decided to switch it to Despair for whatever reason.
I think
But the
Sensor ran
build,
is fair, yeah.
but the build was designed because if you see a Verdehile on defense, you're trying to kill that damn thing first, right?
Right.
So it was to increase his chances to, you know, be a because you always seem to farm dragons, you always seem to get decent two sets. It's like, why? Where's the violent at, right? But
Yeah.
and then I was like, you know what, violent. And then I just got to the point where I was like, violence, just like, what is it really doing? If it doesn't proc, then what is it doing for you? Nothing.
Right. And so when it comes to that, let's say that we're kind of not really more focusing on late game, but we're talking to let's bring it back to our beginners that are listening, the beginner intermediate players. They're coming on board and they're seeing the typical recommendations of Swift, but when they look at these top end players, they see some go violent. So what's your take on that? Do you like the consistency of the Swift to be utilized the most, or for a primary set, or do you like the Violent, and why or why not?
I've always felt that the only reason I would build Verdehile with Violent is if I'm building him with DPS, where I'm going full on YOLO with him, and I'm just gonna crit you in the face for a decent amount of damage because he can actually dish out pretty good numbers.
Gotcha.
But that's the only reason I would build him with Violent. I know others would like if you. I prefer the more consistent setup because everybody knows your Violent procs versus AD procs. Yours is gonna go one to their five. It's so I rather have the consistency. That extra 20 or 30 speed that you're going to get from using Swift over the over the Violence just going to outweigh that possible chance.
All right then, cool, cool. Let's see. Last one we got here is going to be the one that's probably making the biggest shake when it comes to arena offense and Guild Wars offense, and some Guild Wars defense I've seen it here and there. Is Galleon on the water pirate captain? So, what's your take on this particular unit as far as the hybrid goes, and what do you recommend for your typical beginner to intermediate player coming up in the ranks?
If you're an intermediate player, this monster's just broken. I'm like, why did they give the unit with so much utility that can actually deal damage if you decide to build him that way?
Right.
Galleon kind of falls down to if if you want to build them like utility. I build mines with more damage on it because why not? But you can get away with it. You still, as long as you can meet accuracy the accuracy amount that you would justify yourself to do something else. I believe Barian has like 100 accuracy one running him with speed attack. It's kind of broken. It's he's just one of he's hard. This monster. That's not even fair. For I know Bomber's a little jelly that he don't got one. Let's just say that.
Well, we got the new week reset, I think, and so you have the opportunity to get it. I'm sure we'll probably try to go for it, but it's all good. Let's see what we got here. I think that's actually it for the hybrids. What I wanted to go ahead and do, and we'll go ahead and hit it up in the comments. I want to take the opportunity for everybody listening. If you have any questions about certain units, if you feel they're a hybrid or not, please take the opportunity now to go ahead and put your questions on certain units down below, and I'll have Jakeem as well as Bomber and anybody else that wants to chime in the comment sections to kind of give you a heads up on the hybrid or not, and if it is a hybrid, what would the rune recommendation put in, so we can get back to you guys if you guys have any questions on units that you might have. Obviously there's a big handful of units out there, but I want to go ahead and keep it condensed so we can don't make like a 5 hour video. So everyone has a different opinion on the hybrids versus not. So let me see here. So the next one is going to be the main topic of today, guys. Talking about the new meta, the speed team coming back at you. So I think it was kind of in that Conquer One rank. You see a lot of speed based teams, and then back in the day, as you move up in the ranks, you see that you know
You just start getting heavier and heavier in
he-
tank status.
right, heavier tank status, and now with the recent changes that have kind of come on board, and some of the newer units that have been available,
Like
the
Gallon.
yeah, like Galleon, the meta has changed. So I wanted to see if you could take the time to talk about, for the people that are looking to, take advantage of this new meta, how would you go about setting up a speed team composition? And we could talk about the offensive side versus defensive side, if there is any difference.
Well, defense side, I know Bomber uses a speed defense. Senza probably is the only person I know that's even Guardian 3 and can maintain it with a 4-star defense that's based off of speed alone. But my personal thing is I've always felt that you would still want to be. Right now, it's more about gauge manipulating than anything. It's trying to find a way to interrupt you're trying to find a way to interrupt the enemy, the person attacking your defense, interrupt their skill order so that you can at least give a fighting chance of not just dying.
Right. And with regards to providing that way of what I think you might have coined this one as well. I know that Bomber's a big fan of this terminology called turn denial. Whether it comes from stuns or whether it comes from attack gauge manipulation, what do you feel when you're trying to develop this comp? How many attack gauge boosters do you like to have? How many speed based units are you trying to work with? I mean, what do you think is the optimal setup for you in your situation?
Well, I'm lucky enough to have Ragdoll, so I'm trying to utilize him on defense because Dragonites are not bad on it for the setup. Mind you, I'm gonna put more HP on him. I like to hide him, but he's it's it's the whole takeaway is just trying to not get caught out and just auto lose because once people start getting those high end ruins, it just your defense is just gonna start faltering because you're not fast enough, or for whatever reason you're just getting shaped by it. You I've I personally like a defense setup where you can maintain yourself and always you just want to make the match last a long enough time, but also give yourself a strong enough chance to fight back and possibly win.
Gotcha. So you're not going to be bringing a composition of all support units. You're going to have to somehow work in a unit in there that can provide a little bit of damage.
That's why the water. A lot of people right now are using the water brownie Orion
Hmm.
for defense setups. The reason is because if he manages to go in between one of your attack units or that and uses his and decides to gauge buff and possibly stun the attacker, which somehow manages to always happen. I hate that unit. That's
Right.
why I 6-star the damn thing.
Yeah, he's a fun one. I'm actually like I've played around with a lot of compositions this last week, testing out different things, and believe it or not, the one composition that has generated the most defensive wins over the last I don't even know how many hundreds of fights, defensive attacks that I've had was having Orion in there and then having the Dragonite as well as Theo Intersoon in there. A really weird composition, but my units are really close to being synced up with Orion, and so. Making sure that those units have 70% of the speed that Orion is rocking, trying to keep them so that once Orion goes and hits that attack H boost, they fall right in line, buff from Shasun and do the damage or whatnot. So it's pretty cool. I know that some people are not a big fan of using the Dragon Knights in
I'm not
general.
a fan. I've got Cho and I don't even know what to do with the damn thing. I
Yeah,
hate and it almost broke my heart. It broke my heart that I pulled two of them 3 days apart. It broke my heart. I wanted to quit.
salty, salty. You'll be all right, though, my man. Who knows? Maybe they'll change
Man,
it one day.
I
Maybe they'll
still
change it
talk
one.
shit about pulling them.
Yeah, yeah.
What the hell I'm gonna do with two Chos?
I don't know. So when it comes to the speed comps, we were talking about Orion and whatnot. Did you? I don't, and I apologize. I might not have caught it, but when you're talking about the speed comps, I know that Ragdoll provides the attack gauge boosting, with his passive and whatnot. But when we're talking about the people that are trying to make that setup and whatnot, what do you recommend? Like how
You
do they bring Bernard and Verdehile? Do they just bring Verdehile?
Verdehile is
What
not
what?
a Verdehile is actually not a bad choice for almost any setup. But then if you decide to use Verd, that would go back to that double revenge nemesis build. You can throw in violent, but the whole point is you're trying to make yourself forcefully get yourself in a situation where you can, defend yourself from getting AoE'd and destroyed in one turn. You
Gotcha. So if we got to throw out a generic recommendation, we say speed lead plus some kind of attack gauge booster. Do we add a CC in there, then a damage dealer? Do we say two damage dealers? What do you think?
um
That's what I'm trying to get
right
at.
now, from what I've been taking a lot of note on, because at one point people were using a lot of Bellas with Revenge for a while, and then they finally switched it from Revenge to Nemesis due to it possibly most of the time it like go in between the double Lucian if somebody's trying to double Lucian you, for example.
Right.
It will go in between, heal, gauge buff your team, and now your team can actually do something versus sitting there and doing nothing.
Gotcha. So what you're saying is if someone's trying to utilize a speed comp with a healer in
But
there, Bella's the way to go, and Violent Nemesis is the way to go there.
Yeah, violent nemesis, but you still want a decent amount of speed. I can't give you an actual number because everybody has different numbers when it comes to speed.
Right.
So it's kind of just one of those things where you just kind of make a guess and hope it works out.
Okay. And then when it comes to the opposite side, talking about, when now everyone's seeing this speed meta and whatnot, and they're getting on board. Some people are like, oh, I can outspeed them. Let me see if I can go speed for speed. But I believe you disagree with that. You're a big fan of the quote unquote tank and span kind of route. Can you
Oh
talk a
yeah,
little bit about that
oh
and how
yeah.
you how you go about countering?
That's my. I go it. Mind you, the tank strength strategy, it's it takes longer. That's the one downside to it. Where people I know everybody, pretty sure everybody who's watching this and who's in the global knows who Senza is. Senza is possibly the fastest player in global. I'm not gonna say across the world because I don't know if anybody's actually faster than him or not.
Right. But
But
yeah,
in global, he is the fastest.
right. And this guy was running the speed team before the meta even changed. Right. He was running it all day.
He's the only person that can hold Guardian 3 with nothing but 4 stars
Yeah.
because he's that fast. But see, my strategy is what I do is I was told you, I gauge manipulate myself to go in between where he does to interrupt myself from getting just completely blown away. And if it does so happen that he does still get the good do his Lucian or it still does amp magic, it's not going to kill me because I know that my monsters can tank it.
Right.
But then it starts to fall down to when do I need to actually heal because it turns down to making sure you have the allotted amount of HP to survive for the next turn until you can actually get your turn to kill him.
Okay. Very unique. Yeah, I like it. I like it. When it comes to this game, we see a lot of changes, some for the better, some for the worse. The next question I got for you, my man, is if there was one thing to change in this game, what would it be and why?
Guild Wars, oh my god, please, Lord of Violent Procs and Guild Wars. That is ridiculously high. Oh my god.
Yeah, good deal. I only got one more question for a man, and this is probably going to be the fun question for the crowd. What is your greatest epic fail story to share with us?
Mine's definitely probably still to this day, it's probably been a Casas. I don't even know why I 6-starred her. I never used her, never had a need of her. I don't even. I put it. It's in storage.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't even
I
use.
let
I
you throw
don't
it out
even
there.
use it.
I let you throw it out there.
It was. I've never had a reason to. Like when the big thing to use her for was farming giants at the time, right? That was pretty much the only reason to use
Right,
her.
right.
But at that time, I've already farmed all the ruins I needed to farm dragon by using imps for the imp team before they changed how giants worked. I've never needed a Casas.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was fortunate enough to catch that before I went. I had her planned for a 6-star, and then I had Darian come up, and then Bella come up. So I just slowly pushed her aside and aside and whatnot. So it's kind of crazy, but yeah, thank you for the insight. I appreciate it. As far as shout outs that you want to do to the community, is there any shout outs you want to give out there?
Appreciate my guild for sticking with me. I know I can be a jerk sometimes. Um, of course, the stream team. We've been doing this for a while.
Yeah, got a big group of people out there in the Twitch community, guys. If you ever check them out, I got the majority of them listed on my in my YouTube description down below. So make sure you check them out, follow them, so you can watch them play in the top end of their games. So I think you said, I know you mentioned previously in the video, as far as callouts go, trying to get Sense on board to
Oh, if
get him
you
on
can get
board.
Senza, I've been trying to. I've literally went through 1,000 trying to find this guy. I cannot find him. If you can get him to do a stream, I'll be the first person to watch your show for
There
when it
you
gets
go.
released.
There you go. And I'll be the first person to let you know I'm recording it because yeah, I definitely watched it for quite some time. A very unique character, and it'd be cool to get him on board and check it out. So cool. Do you have anything else that you wanted to add to the viewers?
Mm. If there's anything to ask me, if y'all haven't already, just message me on Twitch. If I can get the chance to get to you, I will. Or if you somehow manage to find me in whatever random channel I magically be in, just ask me there. But thanks to all y'all guys who came out and supported me throughout the times and just hung out on my stream or whatever. Really appreciate y'all.
Cool. And again, guys, Jakim's going to be able to check out this video just like you guys after it's published. So if you have any additional questions, especially about the hybrids, a lot of units out there that you can go back and forth depending on your rune makeup, please hit us down in the comments section down below, and I'll make sure Jakim gets to it as soon as possible for you guys. Well, thanks again, Jakim. I appreciate you coming on board. I know it's been quite the hassle trying to get our schedules to match, but I'm glad you took the opportunity to make it work.
Yeah, no, it's been a hectic ride.
Yeah, yeah, I feel you, my man. Well, all right, guys, we'll go ahead and cut it off right there. Thank you all for tuning in. It's been a pleasure to make these videos for you as always. It's your boy Childish and Jakiem with ChildishPlays checking out. Take care. We will see you next time, guys. We're out.